The next control flow binding that we're going to look at is the if binding. The if binding allows you to use expressions to show or hide an element based on a true-false value, similar to the visible binding. Here's an example. We have an input type checkbox that has a data bind of checked for show message variable. And what that does is when you click the checkbox and it's checked, it will actually turn to true. If not, it's going to be false. Checked is a binding of Knockout that basically turns checkboxes and radio buttons true and false. So below that, we have a div with a data bind for if binding, and it's tied to show message as well. So when show message changes from true to false and false to true, it's going to turn that div on and off. So let's look at Visual Studio and see how this is accomplished. Back in our control flow bindings view, let's go ahead and copy the previous section that we used for each, paste it, rename the ID to if binding, name the title if, and go ahead and delete all of the HTML code that's there, and go type UL, data bind, for each products, do an li, product b data bind equals text name, and we're going to do a div data bind. Here's our if binding. We're going to bind it to pricing. So within that, we're going to put cost, b element, data bind equals text, pricing dot list price. So what this is going to do is basically it's going to show the product name, and if there's pricing associated, it's going to show the list price. If not, it's not supposed to show the price. Let's go down to our code, our script block here, and set this up. Let's start a new script block. Script type equals text JavaScript, script function if view model, our self equals this, self dot products equals ko dot observable array, and we're just going to go ahead and use the same variables as up here. Oops. Copy those. Okay, and we'll just paste these in. And we're going to do something slightly different here. We're going to add another property for pricing. We'll call that one null, so Coke doesn't have a pricing, probably because it's too expensive. And pricing for Pepsi, we'll say the list price is $25. And lastly, pricing for 7-Up, also to null. Pretty straightforward. So now we just need your ko.apply bindings to wire it to UI, new if view model, our jQuery get element by ID, so f dash binding 0 parentheses, quick check, everything looks good. So let's now save this, and we will look in the browser here, bindings, refresh the page, and here's our if binding. So here we have product of Coke, which doesn't have a price, so it's not even trying to show the cost. Product of Pepsi, which does have a list price, so it is showing the div that has the cost in it. And here's our product 7-Up that does not have a cost associated with it. So let's go back to our model real quickly, and let's say, you know, we want 7-Up and Coke to have a price. So we'll say 7-Up costs $5, and we'll say Coke costs $100. Go ahead and save it. Go back to your browser, refresh the screen, and now you can see that the cost div is now shown with Coke for 100, Pepsi's still 25, and the cost is 5 for 7-Up.